The Guide on How to Pitch to Journalists by Rudy Davis. If you want to win press coverage, then you need to master two things: how to come up with a killer pitch and how to contact the media about a story in the correct way. That's why we put together this How to Pitch to Journalists guide to walk you through the following: how to come up with media pitch ideas, the different types of media pitches and press coverage, the do's and don'ts of writing a media pitch, an email pitch to journalists example, how to contact news reporters. And in addition to this guide, you can also download our Pitching to Journalists toolkit, which contains 6 sample email pitches to journalists as well as an email pitch template. Part 1. How to come up with a journalist pitch. What is a pitch to journalism? Okay, I'm starting with the basics here, but this is important context. PR remains a bit of a mystery to many people, and the thought of trying to win media coverage can be downright bewildering. So here's our definition. A pitch is a speculative approach to a journalist where you offer something of value with the intention of winning press coverage for you or your company. What you offer to a journalist will determine the type of pitch you send. I'll walk you through this below. How to come up with a killer pitch idea. One of the questions we get asked the most is how to get a journalist to write about you. It's no use simply pitching any old thing to journalists. If a pitch offers no value, it'll just end up in the trash folder. So how can you prevent this fate from befalling your pitches? It takes clearly defined business goals, a well-crafted narrative, and expert knowledge of your industry and current trends, as the below graph demonstrates. Visit our guide at publicize.co to see this infograph. Ultimately, you need to give more than you take. What we mean by this is if you just pitch blatantly promotional stuff, such as why your startup is going to disrupt your industry, you're not going to win press coverage. Always bear in mind it's a journalist's job to write stories, not promote products. So with this being the case, you need to offer journalists news, stories, or ideas that are unique and present real value to their readers. Finding your hook. Every pitch needs a hook. This is the way you present your news, story, or idea so that it stimulates interest and demonstrates newsworthiness. The hook you develop will depend on what it is you're pitching and the industry you're in. Here are some common examples to help you develop yours. Provide a fresh perspective. The media love reporting on a trending topic. By providing a fresh perspective, you'll stand out by offering something new. Provide insight. Perhaps your user data provided startling insight into an established topic. Tell the other side of a story. Provide a counter-argument to the prevailing narrative on a popular topic backed by data, results, or experience. Challenge the orthodoxy. Append conversational wisdom or kill a sacred cow with your views and opinions. Breaking new ground. Present data or research results on a niche area or subject matter that hasn't been reported on before. The following section helps to place all the above in context by providing examples of the types of pitches we send to journalists. The different types of PR pitches to journalists. We categorize our journalist pitches based on the type of story, news, or insight they're offering. Here's the list of our most common pitch types. Guest article submission. Used when pitching for a guest post spot in a publication, which is talking about a general topic relevant to your industry. Actionable insights. Used when pitching actionable and practical insights which are based on your own experience and expertise. Breaking news hooks. Used to jump in on a breaking news story that's relevant to you or your business by pitching to offer expert opinion and insight. Sector overview. Used when pitching to provide an overview or analysis of something that's happening at a high level in your industry. How X will help Y. Used when pitching a story, advice, or insight that provides a solution to a known problem. Product review. This one's nice and simple. It's used when you're pitching your product to professional reviewers. When pitching for a guest article, otherwise known as a guest post, make sure you only pitch to outlets that accept guest article submissions and that you pitch to an editor rather than a journalist. Pitching these to outlets that don't accept them is a sure way to ruffle feathers. What about press releases? Allow me to get technical for a moment. A press release is a medium for writing and transmitting information about a company announcement. But what does this actually mean? Well, if you have something to announce, for example, securing funding or signing a new partnership, then you can write and email a press release to journalists. They can then publish this in its entirety or write it up into an article. But as you've no doubt already figured out, this is only useful on those occasions that you have something newsworthy to announce. And if you're a startup, this may only be a handful of times a year. That's why you need to use the above types of pitches to win press coverage when you have no company announcement to make. Different types of press coverage. There's no one type of press coverage that PR generates. Here are the main types of coverage that a successful pitch can generate. guest article, guest post. When you write an article that's published by a publication under your name. Expert commentary. When you provide a comment for a story that's attributed to you. Guest appearance. When you appear as a guest, such as on a podcast. Profile. When a journalist writes a profile about you. Interview. When you get a feature interview in a publication, such as a trade journal. Product review. When your product is professionally reviewed by a publication. Being aware of these different types of press coverage will help you define your objectives and better articulate the offers you're making in your pitch. How to find journalists. Once you've come up with a killer idea for a pitch, the next step is to find the most relevant journalist to send it to. There are two important things to bear in mind here. Select journalists writing for publications that your target audience read. There's no point in winning media coverage for the sake of media coverage. It has to form part of a wider PR strategy for it to provide value. Narrow it down further by selecting the journalists that have previously written about the subject area that your pitch relates to. This can sound time-consuming, but it needn't be when you apply the correct process and the right tools. Our guide to finding journalist contact details provides a step-by-step guide on how to do this. Part 2. How to contact news reporters, journalists, and the press. How to write a news pitch. Now comes the actual outreach. This is where you need to condense your great idea into a short and concise email that will grab the attention of reporters and demonstrate its value to them. So how to write a press inquiry. This is what you need to keep in mind when writing your pitch. Be clear on your objectives. Before you type the first word, be sure of what it is you're offering to a journalist and type of press coverage you're trying to win. Your pitch needs to clearly explain what it is offering, why this is of value to the journalist, and the type of media coverage you're seeking. So if you're not certain on this, your email is going to lack coherence and purpose. Don't be promotional. Remember, it's a journalist's job to sell stories, not promote products. I hate to say this, but most journalists don't really care about your product, and this is why you need to be far more creative when trying to win earned media. Personalize it. Pitches to journalists are often based on a template. Hey, we're even giving some away with this guide. But make the effort to personalize each one you send out. Use the journalist's name in the subject line and your opener. And if you can, include references to any previous related articles the journalist has written, linking these to your pitch. Keep it short. Make sure every sentence serves a purpose and that the email to the journalist is free of waffle. Break up any large paragraphs with bullet points to call out the key points of your offer. Include your social proof. Your social proof is the evidence of your credibility. It's no use just saying in a pitch that you're an expert on the subject. You have to provide evidence of this. This can be via a brief summary of your resume or links to other press coverage that you've won. Thread your hook throughout. Make sure you build upon your hook throughout your pitch. The introduction, context, social proof, and the offer all need to support the overall hook of your pitch. Our journalist email pitch example in the following section illustrates how to do this. Email pitch to journalist example. Below is a sample email pitch to a journalist. This is a breaking news hook email pitch that is jumping on a partnership announcement made by Affirm and Walmart. It's offering a perspective on how fintech startups are impacting traditional banks and what they can do to fight back. Number 1, subject. Use the subject line to grab the journalist's attention. Call them out by name, then explain the subject of the crux of your pitch. In this example, we lead with the journalist's name, then explain what the subject of the pitch is about, which in this case is a breaking news hook pitch. Number 2, introduction and personalization. Use the first paragraph to provide context of what it is you're pitching and to personalize the pitch by relating it to something the journalist has recently written about. In this example, we start the pitch by referencing a recent article that the journalist wrote, which is on the topic of this breaking news hook pitch. Number 3, context and angle. Use the next paragraph to start building your hook. Always support this with data points and link to other articles or research that supports your angle. In this example, our angle is built around how traditional banks are feeling the pressure of fintechs and how this is eroding their market share. We also support this with a relevant data point. Number 4, building out your angle. Use the following paragraph to fully flesh out your angle if required. In this example, the previous paragraph posed the problem, while this paragraph suggests a partial solution. This partial solution is then related to the offer at the end of the pitch. Number 5, company, personal details, and social proof. Now comes the introduction of the person offering the story and their company. Use this as your social proof to explain why you're qualified to talk about the subject you're pitching. In this example, as the offer is on behalf of a CEO at a fintech company, we've provided an explanation of what the company does to demonstrate why the CEO is qualified to talk about this topic. Number 6, the actual offer. And here is the actual offer to the journalist. You need to explain exactly what it is you're offering, which you can do here. In this example, we're offering commentary, a bylined article, which is another term for a guest article, or an interview. We then provide details of the topics that this person can provide input on. When's the best time to send a pitch to a journalist? Based on our own research, we find that the best time to contact a journalist is either Tuesday or Wednesday between 8 AM and 9 AM. Pitching to journalist etiquette. When pitching to journalists, make sure you stay on their right side by following some basic etiquette. Make sure your pitch is relevant to the journalist's beat. Journalists can understandably get very annoyed when they receive a pitch that's completely irrelevant to them. If you're pitching for a guest article spot, make sure the outlet actually accepts these submissions. Check their editorial policy or see if any recent articles are by guest authors. If you're pitching for a guest article spot, send your pitch to an editor instead of a journalist. It's an editor's job to greenlight a guest article, not a journalist's. Don't contact 2 journalists working for the same publication at the same time. Although there's no harm in pitching to a journalist at the same publication, if a few weeks have passed since your pitch to the first journalist. If you're offering your pitch as an exclusive, send it to journalists one at a time. State how long the offer stands for. This can be from 24 hours to a few days. Check Twitter handles to see if journalists are open to pitches. Some journalists will state on their Twitter handle that they're open to pitches, while others will state that they're not. Don't pitch to these journalists. Just send one chaser. It's fine to send a follow-up email to a journalist a day or 2 after you've emailed the pitch, but anything further won't be appreciated. Keep it brief and don't be pushy. Something along the lines of, I know you're busy, so just touching base to see if you've had a chance to look at the below pitch or if you have any questions. Conclusion. Now you've read our guide on how to pitch to journalists, you know how to come up with ideas to win media coverage and how to contact the press the right way. And we've actually made doing this easier with our free Pitching to Journalists toolkit. The toolkit provides everything you need to start writing pitches and contacting journalists, including 6 real-world journalist email pitch examples, editable email pitch template Word doc, journalist pitch tracker Excel doc.